Welcome to the 3% Podcast. This is the bi-weekly podcast brought to you by Open Letter and 3%. This is Chad Post from Open Letter, and I'm joined as always by Tom Roberge from Riff Raff.
Hello, hello.
Who's going to be up here in Rochester later this week.
3 days.
Sort of. Yeah. I know that you're not planning, so you're coming up here for the ALTA conference. However, you're planning on not going really to the ALTA conference.
Right. I mean, I'm going because, one, I want to hang out with you, and two, Emma's going, and, it's a good excuse to go together. I am on one panel that you asked me to be on Sunday, but because of how fucking expensive it is to register, I can't just sort of, check things out at my leisure for the other days, since they are not very gracious about... Jesus, that was my espresso machine, sorry.
Okay.
It's right next door to my laptop. I mean, we're closed right now, but the espresso machine is never turned off, so it's just kind of...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, you just never turn them off.
Interesting. I did not know that.
The effects of turning them off and on and having to re-pressurize and recalibrate and all of that is more damaging than just leaving it on.
Huh.
Yeah. Anyway.
Things you learn.
I would like to go to the party on Thursday night. Think you can sneak me in?
They don't check things for the party on Thursday. That's not a badge event. It's a public event.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. I'm supposed to send out one of the things I'm going to do today, I think, is sending out an email to everyone where like all the public events that are open to non-registered people. I'm probably not going to go to that event though on Thursday night.
Opening reception?
Oh, the opening reception. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
That is. I thought you meant the translation trivia.
Oh, no, I have an issue with this, and I'm sure you know what it is. So,
Do you want to say it to anyone else, or do you want me to just know what it is?
I mean, it's fucking Amazon Crossing, and I hate Amazon with a deep, deep passion. So,
So yeah. So well, let's get it. We'll start here, but we're going to preview ALTA, the American Literary Translators Association conference. Maybe talk about some of the panels that are going on, just general information about it for anyone who is coming or is is curious about what it's like to go to ALTA. We'll probably have some recap later on too. But on Thursday, things open up with registration. There's an opening reception, which I mean, I guess you could probably get in there. I mean, it's just gonna be in the ballroom in the Hyatt. Although that is weird. That's not in the convention center. But the Hyatt's just open. Like there's no way that they can really block. I mean, there are rooms and they could block you off, I suppose, but I don't think that that's really going to happen. But the opening reception is always just okay, in my opinion. But then there's the offsite event that you're talking about. That's the Amazon Crossing one, which is translation trivia and book launch for Return to the Enchanted Island, the second Malagasy book to be published in English. That's translated by Alison Charette, who lives here in town. So they're doing they're sponsoring like a kind of book launch that's related to this translation trivia that started a few years ago for ALTA as a way for people to have a good time on the first night, possibly win some prizes, feel like they're smart. The first 50 people will get free copies of the book, and clues to Malagasy themed trivia questions later in the evening will be hidden within the bilingual reading.
I feel like I could clean up on this fucking trivia.
You probably could. I'm definitely not going to this. Not for the reasons you are, but I know... Oh, there's an open bar, though, from 7:30 to 8:30, so maybe. But I know Temple Bar, and you know Temple Bar without knowing it, and it's fine. But Salinger's is right next door, and Salinger's has basketball and darts and skee ball, and I think I'm going to just be there.
All right. I am not making plans.
I'm not really either, but I the translation trivia is fun. But Temple Bar can be, if a lot of people show up, it'll be very crowded.
Yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely.
And that's the thing I'm a little nervous about, because I think we're going to get a ton of people there, and they're going to be like, oh shit, this is like. So right next door is one of my favorite dive bars. There's my favorite dive bar I'm not telling anyone about because I don't want anyone to know about it. Because I want to have a place I can escape to.
I know where it is. So.
I know. Well, you know what it is. You may not know where it is.
No, I'm better with geography than names. So I know where I could find it.
Solid.
Would not know the name of it.
Cool. So, but before I mean, I want to address something. This podcast is going to be all the fuck over the place. I was up so late writing about Charcoal Press last night. This post that goes live today is wild. So forgive us, but I want to jump back for 1 second. So one of the things that's come up about ALTA, there's been a few like ALTA controversies in the past week. One of an event that I'm supposed to host, that I'm now hosting, for a lit crawl in which the person who was supposed to organize it from formerly of Writers and Books did not do that. And we found out last week that they never actually organized it. So like, quickly fixing things. But the other thing was this huge problem with the book fair, where Cohen Press kicked things off by posting a thing on Facebook complaining that only 3 of their 8 titles were going to be displayed at the book fair. Or it's something like that. 3 of whatever were going to be at the book fair, and this is not fair, and this is shitty, and this is horrible, and the ALTA book fair is always disappointing, but this is more disappointing than ever, and blah, blah, blah. So I want to take a second and just run by you some facts and figures about the book fair so we have these out here now. I'm going to address everyone's concerns at the membership meeting. So if you're listening to this and you're one of the presses that's pissed, you can come and yell at me. Just yell at me. Don't yell at the ALTA staff. Be pissed at me. That's fine. I can totally take it. Don't yell at the ALTA staff. It's not their fault. But let me tell you a little bit about how the book fair works, and let me get your read as a business owner on some of this stuff. So in the past, the book fair was set up to be one of the few places in America during a year in which a significant portion of the translated books that were coming out would be displayed. And so it was designed so that everyone who's attending the conference could recommend that the bookstore carry their books that they've translated so they can have them on display and tell all their friends to buy copies of the books that they've translated. That's fine when there's like 200 people going to the conference and they each have like 2, 3, 4 books. There's now 500 people attending the conference, not all of whom have published translations, but a lot of whom want their books to be carried by the bookstore. What I started doing a few years ago, how to explain this? So for a while, the book fair just sort of limped along where every year we try and find an independent press that was in the city where the conference was taking place, convince them to carry all the titles and staff the book fair for 3 days, order all the books, sell them there, and then return whatever they didn't sell, but they'd have to have an employee working there the whole time. And they were selling, based on the numbers that we collected over the years, approximately 30% of the inventory that they were bringing to the book fair. At this point in time, so a lot of stores started looking at this and saying they don't want to do it because they're losing money ordering, if they include all the time that it takes to order all the titles, which now, this year we asked the bookstore to carry 1,300 titles. At least 2 copies of 1,300 titles, 10 copies of several of the books that are shortlisted for the various National Translation Award categories or the other awards that ALTA gives out. So over 1,300 books, multiple copies of those books, up to 1,300 units. They had, I think it was 700 different titles, or 600. But anyway, so 1,300 books, they'd bring them there, they would sell, they'd order them, bring them in, bring them to the book fair, sell like 35% of them maximum, and then have to return everything and staff it the whole time. Does this seem appealing to you?
Absolutely not. Do you know how much money that is?
Yep, I do. And about half of these books are hardcovers.
Oh God, then my estimate is low.
Yeah, your estimate is low. I think the total with the outlay, if you were just to order. So what happened? Here's what happens. We are here in Rochester. There's not a close by independent store. Talking Leaves did the book fair last time, but it was a huge hassle in which John Welch, who's going to be on our panel, had to drive all the books over in like a rented truck from Buffalo to ALTA, stay here on his own expense in the hotel for 3 days, and sell all the books by himself, and then bring them all back to Buffalo and return the vast majority of them. A few years ago in Minneapolis, I changed the ordering system so that you couldn't, if you're a translator, you couldn't ask for a book that was older than 5 years to be carried, and no books that were short discount or only available from a UK publisher. So everything to make it as efficient and as cheap as possible. So the books that were easy to get, that you could have there. And then I took the list of all the recommended stuff and added on a bunch of books from each of the presses that do a significant number of translations so that we would have like a larger display not just of people who are books that are translated by people who are at the conference, but books that were in translation that the people at the conference might be interested in. And we did this to Minnesota. What's that?
So you said at the beginning of this that this was set up as a way to showcase books that were coming out in translation from these presses. So I think I agree with the 5-year limit. I would actually make it 2 years and then have more of what you're talking about, which is things from other translators who aren't necessarily here, at the conference, but their translations have just come out in the last year or whatever, and make it go on.
Yep, that's exactly what I do. The 5-year thing is because you do understand how much these people complain about things? Like,
fair enough.
It was like a cost efficiency, right? Like cost risk. Like there won't be as many complaints. So we get all of them. We don't have there's no way Talking Leaves is going to do this again, especially not with these books. So our local University of Rochester bookstore is the Barnes & Noble. So we went to the guy and was like, do you have any interest in this? Like, I assume you're going to say no, but would you be interested in being the sponsor for this? And he was like, we'll totally do it. That's perfectly fine. We can have staff members there. So like a few years ago in Minneapolis, we were able to like make money off the book fair for the first time because the University of Minneapolis Minnesota bookstore bought all the books and returned them, but we had to staff the entire fair ourselves and collect all the money and do all of the work for it. So they made money because they just did the ordering part. They didn't have to staff it. But Barnes & Noble was like, we can staff it, we can take care of it, it's not a problem. So we give them the whole list of all the books that were supposed to be ordered. Stephen, our contact here, sends it to their home office for someone to like put in the order and figure out what's available and what's not. They never do this. So on October 21st, he finds out that they have not done the ordering. So he spends 2 days doing it himself, entering in every single ISBN and first placing an order through the Barnes & Noble Distribution Center, of which I believe 400 titles are coming from there. Then did the rest of them through Ingram. And Ingram would say, like, these ones aren't available, these ones are available. The bill from Ingram was $11,000 for the titles that were coming from Ingram. So yeah, so there's where the money and the credit and all that for like an independent bookstore trying to do this sort of event comes into play. That's a significant chunk of money, I assume.
It's a huge chunk of money. That's more than when we order. Well, no, it's not. That's like good 2 weeks worth of. Well, I'm trying to guess. I'm trying to figure out exactly. No, that's like a good solid month worth of invoices for me.
Yeah, exactly. Because that would be. I mean, it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books. So it's a lot. And so they did that, and then they sent back a message to ALTA saying, "Here's all the books that we can definitely get. We have all the other ones that aren't listed here on order, but I'm going on vacation until November 4th. What we're going to hopefully get more books than this, but these are the ones that we can guarantee that they will be there." So ALTA, maybe a mistake on ALTA's part, sent messages to all the to the translators, I think, of the books that weren't going to make it, that weren't confirmed, saying it's not likely that the store will have your book. We're sorry, it's up to their advisement of what they're going to do, if they're going to carry it or not, blah, blah, blah. So Cohen Press flips out because only a certain number of their books are being included. And so I did a little research into like the books that they were complaining didn't get picked up. And all the ones that I found were non-returnable on Ingram. So, so would you be, as a bookseller, if some press was like, fuck you, why don't you have our books? And you said they're non-returnable on Ingram, that's the end of the story, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You would not carry these.
No. Nope.
Absolutely not. No way. So I believe what the problem is that SPD's terms with Ingram might cause this in certain instances. I'm not entirely sure, but there's all the presses that are complaining are all SPD presses. And I don't know that Barnes & Noble has I don't know what their relationship is with SPD or what terms they have, but I know that they went through, that Stephen only sent the orders through these 2 locations and did not then go to small press distribution for whatever titles were left over, because they weren't just SPD books. There are all sorts of books. Like some of our books aren't available because Ingram doesn't have copies in their warehouse. So fine. So they're not going to be at the book fair, blah, blah. But they're not going to go to the next step to try and like figure out like where these 100 titles that they can't get, are they all from SPD? No. Are they available from other publishers, sure. Do they want to go through all the work of narrowing it down to like getting every single one of these titles, of which, let me remind you, they're carrying 2 copies of. So if they did get these books, they're going to sell at maximum 2 copies of that book. This has become a fucking nightmare of people being so pissed and saying that it was like that it's Alta's disrespecting small presses, that Alta needs to be not beholden to corporate interests, that Alta's rule as a nonprofit, they're responsible for making the book fair a better place, all kinds of like fucking nonsense. And I want, again, if you're mad and you're oppressed, come at me. I will explain to you exactly why the finances of this are complicated and why the book fair is what it is. It could be better, sure. Is it really the most vital part of this conference? No. Are your books, 2 copies of your last poetry book being at the book fair, going to make or break the conference and or your business? No. Don't yell at Alta. Yell at me.
Here's the thing with a lot of these small presses. A lot of them probably are SPD. SPD is not particularly great at keeping things in stock either, but that's not their fault. I mean, they don't. Alta or SPD distributes, I'm just going to guess, 1,000 small presses.
Oh, yeah.
They don't keep tabs on whether or not your individual titles are running low based on current rates of reorders to various bookstores, right?
Yep.
They just tell you when it's gone, if that, frankly.
Yeah.
And it's sort of on the publishers to keep tabs on that sort of thing. I mean, that's the model, right? Publishers are meant to keep tabs on whether or not they are needing to reprint and send 50 copies to SPD as part of that reprint.
Yep.
So go back to your publisher and complain to them. Second, yeah, could SPD be quicker and better about these things? Absolutely. It takes us on the East Coast a good week and a half to get books from SPD. It's just the way it is. It's just they're in a warehouse in Oakland or Berkeley, I can't remember which, that is, run on a bare bones staff. They package things up and send them out the same day I order them, but I mean, they're sending it the cheapest way possible to save everyone in the process some money. It just takes forever to ship ground across the country when you don't have a big shipping company to take care of it.
Yeah. And
again, that's not their fault. It might be Barnes and Noble's fault for probably not having an account with SPD. Really?
Maybe.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if they did, frankly.
To be honest, me too.
Most of the best-selling books from SPD's vast catalog of books are not things that even the most progressive Barnes & Noble in the country is going to carry.
Exactly. And I'm looking at Cohen Press on Ingram right now. Every single title of theirs is not returnable.
That's on Ingram?
Yeah.
Is it a short discount as well?
It must be. Yeah, short discount.
I mean, I don't mind non-returnable if I'm getting 50% or more discount. And
that's what SRP means, right?
Huh?
US SRP would be I think it's short discount. I might be lying about that. But I believe
zero discount.
I believe this discount is saying that I believe this code means that there's not a discount.
On my end it says net, meaning I get no discount. Which, if it's a book I know I will sell, I will order for the store. We have, especially some academic-y sort of stuff in our nonfiction section that I know I'm getting screwed on the discount, but it will sell. It's a good book to have. People appreciate seeing it on the shelves, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. But for hundreds of copies of a thing at a conference, which anyone who's been to a conference, I mean, how much, like you said, what's the sell-through rate? Do you know?
It's 35% approximately.
Oh, God. It would have to be 60-something to even make money.
Yep. I think I got it up near 50 the year that we did it, where the year that I revised what types of books we carried.
Considering returns, considering staffing, considering cost of shipping and shipping returns, yeah, you're looking at a need of at least 60. Look, I know in the past you've had this thing of they can have the presses send books directly and treat it as a consignment.
No way. I ended that.
Yeah, that's also a nightmare. No bookstore that isn't in the employ of Alta should have to deal with that. Not for that many books. It's a nightmare. It truly is a nightmare. But they should be donated. The presses should be donating these books to support their translators. That's what it should come down to.
I think that would be, yeah, absolutely.
And then that way it helps buoy the bookstore's profitability on this, because they're getting some things where they're making 100% profit.
Yeah.
And everybody's happy. I don't understand. And it costs that publisher nothing.
I might post that as I haven't been replying to Facebook posts because these people are going crazy and it just makes me anxious, and I don't feel like answering them on Facebook. Like, this just seems dumb. But maybe I'll just say that, like, if you want them to be there, just donate them. Send them by Thursday. Send them out today. Bring them, donate them.
I mean, that should be how it goes, frankly. And it causes minor problems in terms of, like,
ISBNs not being in the system.
Stuff and inventory and all that. But I imagine we have the same situation too. I imagine even a Barnes & Noble can just, like, enter a price and sell the thing.
Yeah.
It's never in the system and it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see why the presses themselves don't want these books out there, and just treat them as review copies. We're talking 2 copies of a book.
Yep.
I mean, I've been in a lot of small press offices. They have boxes and shelves full of books that have not sold.
Yep.
Giving away to people who are actually interested in them is a very good way of building support.
Also, don't have your books be non-returnable on Ingram, please.
I mean, I have no idea what that's about. I rarely come across that, but
it's crazy because I just looked to make sure that this is true. So our books will say, like, this title is returnable, and all their books say this title is not returnable.
That's crazy.
I would not order that for a conference. Definitely not. No. But I mean, fix that. And like, so as a result, of course, like, the number of copies in Ingram's system is like 4, 2, 3. Like, there's not very 0 for this one. Like, there are not that many books because nobody's going to order them if they're not returnable. Like, don't be fucking yelling at me or don't be yelling at Kelsey or Lissy for the fact that your press doesn't operate by the way that other presses tend to operate their businesses. It's kind of like I love Ugly Duckling, but I know Ugly Duckling doesn't want to have ISBNs on certain books, and they don't want to sell their books through Amazon. And, like, if that's your brand, then you can't really complain when Barnes & Noble can't get your titles.
Right.
You can't have it both ways. Yeah,
no, I agree. And again, they should just donate some copies.
Yeah. Anyways, okay. So that's that part. What you haven't looked through the schedule yet either, have you?
I've sort of glanced through it. I was looking for Emma's on a couple panels. They turn out both to be on Sunday when our panel is also. I see you're on another one.
I'm on a bunch of ones, but I have not planned out.
Okay. Emma said that when she saw you last week in New York that you were vaguely suggesting I be added to another one, but I can't see which one that would be.
So. No, it's fine. I fixed it.
Okay.
I fixed it all.
Can I ask you? Okay, I'm just going to ask you some questions. I assume you know more about these things than I do.
Okay. It's a bold assumption.
All right. Tucson Calling, bright and early Friday morning, translating in Alta's new hometown. What is this now? Alta's new hometown?
Oh, yeah. Alta is now located at the University of Arizona. And
interesting.
Yeah, they've been for a year or more. I think even more. And it was supposed to be, for example, so as part of, like, their deal of being there, the conference will be held in Tucson every other year. It was supposed to be held in Tucson this year, but the hotel that they were going to hold it in was undergoing, I was going to say surgery, reconstruction's also wrong, but, being fixed up, remodeled. And they were afraid, because we had this problem in the past where, like, they're like, oh yeah, it'll be totally remodeled by, like, September 1st. It'll be fine. And then, it's not. So they didn't want to run the risk. So that's why it's being held in Rochester this year, was to take care of that, to assure that we have, like, a place and that there's not some last minute, like, hotel issues. So they are in Tucson, and Tucson wanted to have a chance with this to, like, present the sort of, like, the University of Arizona angle to everything. So it's kind of, like, going to be kind of about Alta, what Alta does, but also, like, the fact that they have people in Tucson that are interested in literary translation.
Yeah. All right.
I don't think that the Us Too, sexism and sexual harassment in the translation profession should have 2 speakers, and one of whom is a male, but that's me.
It seems like there could be more panelists on that one.
I think it's supposed to be a round table, so I think it's supposed to be like, anyone in the audience is participating.
Got it. Okay.
But I'm not 100% sure. The translating graphic novels one will be interesting because I'm using Edward Gavan's graphic novel for my class in the spring because he gave a presentation at Breadloaf about translating graphic novels that was fucking brilliant and was amazing. Even talking about like the sounds being translated, like onomatopoeia and things that are in like comic books or in graphic novels, and he's really, really, really smart. So I'm excited to actually see that. I think that will be fun.
It's funny. I have a friend here in Providence who's doing it might be one of Ed's translations. He's doing the hand lettering. He's an illustrator. He's doing the hand lettering of Bluch, however you say that. Yeah. Do you know about the New York Review of Books?
Yep.
The next one. Is that Ed's translation?
I think so, but I'm not 100% sure.
Anyway, so he's got the translation, and it's his job to just fit it into the existing speech bubbles or space based on how much space the French words took up.
Exactly.
So it's pretty interesting.
That's one of the crazier elements, but like there's so much more that goes on with it too that we don't really think about. Yeah, he did translate Peplum, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's doing the next one too.
All right. What else?
There are 3 days. So if you're going and you want to know about contracts, there are 3 panels called "Don't Just Sign on the Dotted Line: Understanding and Negotiating Book Contracts," which I was initially against being 3 because I just felt like excessive and whatever. But in the end, I don't care. Do what you want to do. Everyone just be happy. Just have your 3 days, and no publishers are supposed to be part of this. This is only supposed to be for translators to talk about how they can best negotiate and get what they deserve from publishers. And no publisher is I think they were even explicitly in the proposal was that no publisher will be allowed in.
Oh, Jesus. Come on.
Yeah. So whatever. Do what you want to do. 3 days of it. I don't know that 4.5 hours of contract discussion is necessary, but I'm not the one going to it.
I don't. I think it's interesting. Collective of Collectives, I think is. I'm curious to see what they have to say about it.
Oh yeah, this is all
Heather Cleary is moderating, and Kai is on here with some other people I do not know.
Matt Berkebine used to be one of our interns.
Many literary translation collectives have sprung up in recent years to explore this relatively new phenomenon, a roundtable of representatives from collectives across the U.S. and farther afield. We'll discuss their origins, missions, specific initiatives, engagement with local and larger communities, successes in child and faith while growing, and other adventures of collective engagement. So is Kaya a member of a collective?
No. Not that I'm aware of. I mean... It's possible. I mean, I'm not exactly the best person when it comes to memory or paying attention to things, but I don't think so. So yeah, I'm not sure why she's on that.
Interesting.
There's one on translating Olympian books that's up here too.
I saw that. Well, it doesn't say that, does it? It says constraint, right?
Well, the roundtable brings together translators and scholars of the LIPO to discuss the complex relationship between potential literature, translation, and politics.
Which obviously very interesting. Chris Clark is on there, friend of ours. This should be good. Do I know Jeff Deitman? Why do I feel
translated that fat book called The Anarchist Who Shared My Name.
For Will?
Yeah. Which is kind of not really an Olympian book, but it like that guy's now part of the LIPO, so they sort of like pitch it as that, but it's not really. It's not a constraint based book. It's just more or less a historical novel of sorts. The few little postmodern twists, but. Yeah. Whoa, Kristen Omer's daughter is going to be here. She's one of our authors. And not know that. She's going to be here as part of the Art Oh My Translation Lab.
I see that.
Cool.
That is. What else?
She wrote Children in Reindeer Woods, which if you haven't read, that book is fucking incredible. That book is incredible. Like one of the best books we published. It's like a war book with no war, and it's so good. It's so weird and good and disturbed. So what's that?
These bilingual reading things are a little strange to me. They seem a little.
Go on.
seem a little exclusionary, or is elitist fair in this case?
Wait, how so?
I'm going to go to a Nordic language spotlight and listen to people read in Nordic and then in English? Like, that's weird.
Yeah, I don't. That's what they've always had the bilingual, because people then can go to, like, the one above it is a bunch of languages: Hebrew, Russian, Chinese, Arabic, and Spanish. But the bilingual readings are essential to the conference because if you apply, not everyone gets selected to do a bilingual reading, but a significant portion of people who apply to do bilingual readings do get in. And for most universities, if you're not presenting, you can't get funding to go to a conference. So if you're not participating in the conference, if you are participating in the conference as a bilingual reader, you frequently can then get funding from university for attending. So, and they're a good place for people to share. This is where it was at a bilingual reading that I heard Megan McDowell read part of Alejandro Zambra that led to us publishing Private Lives of Trees.
But do you get anything out of the Spanish language part of it, is my question.
Oh, I think that they only read like a bit. A few, I'm not entirely sure, but in my memory, they read like a couple minutes in Spanish and then read 10 minutes in English. But like give you a sense of, for the people who know the Spanish, give them a sense of what the rhythms and the prose is like, and then give their translation so that you can then make comments about like in theory, you can make comments as to like what the translation is like.
Okay, so it's not truly both languages in full.
I don't think so. Maybe some people do it that way, but we're hosting the lit crawl one that I'm moderating, emceeing, is kind of a bilingual reading. It was like people who applied for the bilingual reading but agreed to be part of an offsite event, and they were told in the email to read for 12 minutes like a paragraph or two in the original and then in English.
Got it.
And I assume that that's the same for everyone. So I think it's mostly the translation, but a lot of them are grouped by country or region. So there'll be a lot of people who do know Russian or whatever.
Sure.
So there's also Dirty Dancing, handling the explicit translation is one that's always a topic of like swearing and inappropriate things in translations. Every single year, this is a conference panel, which I think is funny.
The word dirty is in quotation marks.
Which is? Dirty.
It says, we'll discuss the value of conveying the quote dirty parts of a source text.
Yeah, that's what I'm there for. Skip my panel and go there.
Even doing so means making some readers uncomfortable. It's like that's the fucking point.
Yep. People get really. I mean, we know there's a translator that I could name that doesn't want to use the word fucking so much in her translation. So she's uses fricking and frigging and all sorts of things. Like there are people that are not into that.
There's a panel focused on open letter.
Yeah, this is the panel that I reinvented because none of these people are going to be there.
None of them?
No, Katie is. Katie will be there. And then I've decided to transform it into, it was going to be a presentation of like Carlos and João Reis and Katie's work on 4x4 as like a more editorial base and like what we do. In fact, that João translated his own book, all that kind of stuff. But he couldn't come because the Portuguese government ran out of funding for their cultural stuff this year. And Carlos is dealing with Chile and like all the protests down there. So he's not coming either. So I reinvented it so that it's going to be about what it means to be a publishing house, a nonprofit publishing house that does more than just publish books. So I have former students on there talking about events that we do and the classes that I teach. And I'm going to try and transform it into like a brainstorming of like what would be the best practices for an organization that wants to do this kind of work and isn't just solely, a for-profit publishing house. So it's going to be a lot broader and more like interactive and roundtable-y.
Got it.
And it's probably sort of self-serving. I mean, we asked for it because I wanted to be able to highlight some of our books while people are here. And for setting up all this stuff. But in the end, I think it's going to be mostly just like brainstorming and talking about things that we do.
Will you be going to Translation Visibility in the Academy Scholarship Teaching Community?
Probably not. Where's that one? Oh, yeah. That's at the same time. Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's at the exact same time. So I can't go to it. But I'm good. I know what those things are.
Do you want to talk about how translating is not really a heavy hitter in the academic world.
It is definitely not. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because there's a thing going on here for the Humanities Center on campus has every year they have 2 external fellowships and 1 internal fellowship, and they have 4 presentations that all of these things, 4 talks throughout the year that all relate to a common theme. So this year's theme is community, which obviously is super broad and can be used in many different ways. But Masha Gessen was here a couple weeks ago to talk about community as part of one of these distinguished lecture speeches. And Valeria Luiselli is coming in February to talk about immigration and community. So they can be very broad. But next year is translation as transformation. And I know a couple of people that are applying. And I was talking to the head of the Humanities Center the other week, and she was like, well, we hadn't really thought about the fact that people that are translators might apply for this, that are just translators and not academics. And so it sort of illustrates this point that like the first thought in universities is as to like the translation theory or the academic side of writing about international literature, not necessarily the practice of it. And that's always been the problem. Like the people that just practice translation, do translation, don't get the acknowledgement that someone would for writing a monograph on some aspect of a particular translation. And it's not treated as a creative activity, the way that MFA stuff is or books are. It's always like dismissed in various ways. And that's something it's much better now than it was 15 years ago, but it's still a long ways to go because academics are very focused on like what benefits themselves more than like a field. That might be a mean thing to say. That might not be true either. But there's something about the way that the academy operates like a clique that keeps out things that are new or different.
Well, I mean, that's every subject area, I believe.
Yeah. But when you have tenure and you get to decide your tenured professors decide who gets tenure, you can really, alter
some people.
Yeah, exactly. Seems much better, so yeah.
Are you going to these offsites? Which one are you organizing? No,
it's on Saturday.
Okay.
So there's the Cold Beer, Cold Readings is at the Spirit Room, which is run by 2 poets here in town. That is pretty cool. It's like got a lot of old Rochester photographs and crazy stuff in there, but it's also like they'll have like tarot card readings most nights and things like that. It's a pretty cool place. And that one's one where they want people to like go and just read a part of a play like cold, like you get to perform do part of the reading of the play without having practiced it or anything like that. So that could be really entertaining. And maybe I should go from that. Maybe I should go to that, and I'll do an actor bit.
Really looking forward to that.
I will make it crazy. There's also like at the same time the Cafe Latino, which is all the Spanish readings, at one of my least favorite bars in town. Just to take a shit on you, Vesper. Fuck you. Don't like you.
Over there.
Vesper is where Brian lives, though, so maybe I will go to that so that he can come downstairs and have a drink.
He lives in the bar?
He lives up right above it. That one Cap Run Street is his building, and it's the basement. There's a bar next to it, though, so Vesper is like super like bougie and like overpriced and just kind of like the thing that it's just the anathema to me of like, you know, getting your beet walnut hummus for $12 and like your $14 cocktail and everything's white and IKEA. Like, it's just not me, right? But right next to it is another bar called Sidebar that is like a Jamaican like crazy bar that burnt down. That started the whole building on fire because they had like a outdoor barbecue place for like making chicken and whatever else. And that bar is rad. That bar is like much more my speed. Like, it's dirty and they have weird TV stations that they watch, and like, yeah, that's right next door. Maybe I'll go there instead. But I'm like just telling people not to go to the events and go to the things that are right next door.
Yeah, no problem with that.
Yeah,
appreciate that. Is
sure.
Once Ever Enough? The case for retranslation.
That might be interesting, actually.
Yeah, I'm into that.
I like Breon Mitchell's retranslation of Günter Grass, and he's going to be on this. And I like it especially because Salman Rushdie always says that it sucks. And Salman Rushdie is 100% wrong about this.
Yeah, He tends to be. Commercial and literary translation in dialogue.
I'm curious about that a little bit. But since I don't do that, it's not really.
Right. Oh, it's at the same time as you're on a roundtable with independent press.
Oh, shit. Oh, yeah. I need to email everyone about that. Yeah, I don't know what we're going to do there, but it'll be fun.
I unfortunately cannot be there to heckle you all.
That's totally cool.
Were you going to the award ceremony? When is that?
Probably that night. I don't know. It's in one of the evenings, but we don't have any. I think we have one book that's a finalist for the award. So, yeah, I usually go to that, but I also. It's weird. It's weird for this to be in like, I can understand now somewhat of like how people, when things are in New York and they're just like, I'm not going to go to any of this shit. Like for some reason, like this being here makes it like less of a conference and more of a like, okay, I can just pop in and out and go to like the things I like to do.
Right.
Very different. There's a bunch of workshops for Russian translation and Arabic translation, which is pretty cool. I like the workshops going over things like that. Spanish English prose workshop. Those I think are fun. I mean, this section on Saturday afternoon Saturday morning from 10:45 to 12 is a bunch of workshops. So yeah. French, Spanish, Arabic, and Russian are all running simultaneously. And there's one that's like more broad called Difficult Passages, an interactive workshop about passages that are thorny. You're supposed to bring in a untranslatable, in quotes, short passage. Could be a phrase, a word, a sentence, bit of dialogue, a couplet. And it's being moderated by one of the people with one of my favorite names, Clyde Moneyhun, which is so good to say. Clyde Moneyhun. Love it. So that's cool. There is also for people, there's an And Other Stories Portuguese reading group meeting as well, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's a lot of workshops.
Yeah, it's a lot. There's these flash sessions for translators that have applied for it where editors will get like 3 pages of their work and then have to like evaluate it and like talk to them, answer the 2 questions they can ask, and they can't pitch the books. They're just supposed to ask about their translation. There's also then these we set up to encourage more publishers to be here, pitch sessions, which I mean in a way might not encourage them, but people are into it, where you get to sign up for like a 5-minute pitch and the translator gets to go pitch their project to a particular publisher that they've been assigned to. And we've never done that before at ALTA, and I think it could be really beneficial for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I know of a publisher who's participating, so I mean, definitely got him there. So
yeah,
we'll see.
I think it'll help translators learn how to better present their books, and I think that there are certain publishers that will end up working with certain translators they might not have otherwise thought of.
Maybe, yes, maybe
they might just not know.
Right.
There's a future of translation, 25 years of 2 lines.
Where is that?
It's on 2 o'clock on Saturday. Ooh, 25 years. Jesus Christ. That's a lot of years.
I didn't realize it was that old.
I didn't think that Olivia could possibly have be old enough to have run this for 25 years.
Yeah.
Jesus. Oh, yeah. There's a literary journals roundtable, which is always a thing. Here's again, From Curses to Sweet Nothings, translating emotionally charged language.
With Will.
He's not going to be here.
Oh.
He can't come. He's living in south of Mexico and he can't make it. So, yeah. Well, this one, the 5 till 7, is the translation lit crawl. Stop calling me. Sorry, my car is being worked on for the 3rd time in 4 days, and they keep calling me. The lit crawl is the one that I'm running, but it is only going to be at Volo on Clinton Avenue, which I've never been to before. But it is all taking place there, which will be fun.
Oh, so it's not at both locations?
No, because the place, the Hyatt Regency bar, which the person who's supposed to set this up never contacted, is closed because it's a rooftop bar.
That does make sense. This is mid-November.
Yep. It was so nice here last week, and now it's going to be fucking cold.
I think it's going to snow on Friday. Isn't there aren't you throwing a party on Saturday night? Sunday.
Our celebration is Sunday. But yeah, there's also, after the translation lit call that we do, there's going to a continuation bonus stop with Sadia and Company at Pop Rock Cereal Bar and Comic Shop, which is a place that my daughter and her friends always hang out at.
Yeah, that's cool. We'll just go to a place where your daughter hangs out. That's fun.
Yeah, and they only serve coffee, like supercharged caffeinated coffee and cereal.
Yeah, I will not be going to that. Sorry.
Nope, I wasn't planning on going to that either. I'm gonna take people to a fun place. I mean, I love pop rock. I do like going there. They're very nice people, and it's great because all my daughter's friends, they all can just walk over there, and like it's pretty safe, and like they're not gonna get themselves in any trouble there. So that's cool. There's a lot of music stuff that's going on for this one because it is supposed to be sight and sound, which is cool. There's even like storied realities of the lived experiences of deaf translators, which is interesting. The keynote speakers are people who are translating who do sign language translation. So it's the Flying Words Project, which that's cool too. So I'm glad that we haven't highlighted those things, but there are a number of panels related to sight and sound that are on here, and especially ASL stuff. There is actually, Rochester's a big location for the deaf community. There's a school for the deaf just north of here, just north of the university, and RIT has like a huge program in ASL and a very large student population that is deaf or hearing impaired. And they are actually hosting a conference this same weekend. I think it starts tomorrow and ends on Friday, but it's on like art and ASL. Like I don't remember exactly what it's called, but something to that effect. So there's certain crossover things that we're trying to do to highlight that during this as well, which is cool.
Yes.
So Emma's on this one. Everything you wanted to know about being a professional translator.
With Julia, who works here at the store and lives a block away from us and occasionally walks our dog for us.
Nice.
I have never met Lizzie, I don't think. And Ed again, and Daniel Hahn again. A lot of these people are on multiple panels.
Yeah. I think you're only supposed to be on 2 or maybe 3.
Yeah, I guess Emma's on 2. Julia's on like 6 because of the same panel that's every day.
The 3-day one, yeah.
Yeah. Everything you wanted to know about being a professional translator. I witness it every day. So
this sucks. So okay, so book selling and translation is our panel, which I think I wrote this description, but I don't even know what I wrote. So we'll talk about whatever we want to talk about. We'll mainly talk about how everyone's complaining about the book fair, why it doesn't work. But I wish I could be on teaching literary translation in the 21st century. I'm curious to see what they say on there.
Wait, is that at the same time?
Yeah, same time. It's always the same time.
Yes.
Oh, no. At the same time. Oh, okay. Yeah, and they're translating into our stepmother tongue. That would be interesting. Translating noise. This is probably not the best podcasting, but like it is fun to like look through this and see like what other panels I forgot that we accepted. There's another one that's becoming a full-time literary translator. That's weird.
Wait, is there?
Yeah. So at 2:00 or 10:45 is the where is it? I don't know where it is, but the one that So the one that Emma's on, everything you want to know, and then down below at 2:00 is becoming a full-time literary translator. It goes kind of the same panel.
So who is Gabriella Page Fort, the translator?
I don't think so. She runs Amazon Crossing.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. It says award-winning full-time literary translators discuss the long path towards, quote, living the dream.
Translation and footnotes.
That's Emma's, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Where is that? Yes.
Is at 2:00 or 3:45 that same day?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm fascinated by that kind of stuff, so yeah.
Footnotes?
Yeah. Love me some footnotes.
Not for me. Then there's closing reception, and then there is our gala right after that, our celebration right after
Which,
that.
I don't know that I'm going to. Keep asking you if I can go.
Yeah, if you can, that's cool. If not, don't worry. It's smaller than usual, and it's just going to be for both ALTA and open letters. And we've sold a significant number of tickets, and some of which I still have to give away to students and whatnot. So if you're listening to this and you want to go to the gala and you're a student or someone who otherwise can't afford the $25 ticket, hit me up. I have some free ones still left to share. I don't know. Anything else with ALTA that you want to say? It'll be an interesting conference. It's got a lot of I think we've morphed into like a good mixture of practical panels, theoretical academic panels, and reading type panels. which is hard to do. It's hard to figure out the balance when you're evaluating all the submissions of panels, but I think it came out. I think this is pretty strong.
Yeah, it's definitely. I feel like it's different. I was only ever at one other one, the one in Rochester, wherever, how many years ago it was.
2013, I think.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Maybe. Sure. And it feels sort of the same, but also bigger and more focused in a way. It's focused on these three aspects of the conference, but in a good way.
Yeah, supposedly there are more people who are registered for this than any other ALTA conference to date. So
there you go.
Yeah, it's in a fucking convention center, man.
Right. As opposed to whatever that building was before.
Oh, the MAG, the Memorial Art Gallery? Yeah, the Memorial Art Gallery can't handle anything this size.
Right.
So it's wild how much this has grown and like how large of a gathering it is. So for people who are coming to it, like, you know, be ready to just meet new people that can help be mentors for you, learn from all the different panels, but just to enjoy yourself and you know, make good connections. It should be a very fun time and not a super stressful sort of conference.
Yeah, I mean, much like Winter Institute, I feel like, you know, it's better if you go in with the mindset that, you know, you're going to hang out with some people who are, you know, simpatico and maybe learn some things from them and sort of bond about what you do and learn some stuff along the way. But it's not, you know, it's not life-changing sort of educational sessions, but it is helpful and, you know, it's not all about the education. There's, again, sort of bonding and connecting sort of element to it all.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and I'll be around getting wasted and showing people where the bars they should go to are. Except for my secret one. No one can know about that.
I will just tell everyone.
You probably will. Nobody's going to want to go there anyways. That's what I told Anthony, and he's like, nobody's going to go. It's not like there's going to be an ALTA rush on that bar. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but like, I don't know. I just want to know that there's one place that if like it gets to be too much, I can just go there, and I'm unlikely to see all the people from the conference.
Right.
So, anyways, anything else that you have that you want to talk about? Anything?
Really?
Any interesting books? I started reading. So I've been reading these Charco books for a series of things I'm going to do for Charco Press this month because their books are first being distributed in the U.S. now. 4 of them all at once, and one's coming out in February. But in addition to that, I finally got started on and reading these books that I asked various publishers. I don't even remember which publishers they are to send me books that were way out in the future that had no identifying markers of like the author or the translator or cover or the publisher or the language, just a book. So I have them on my Kindle so I can just read them and write book reviews on them and evaluate them without knowing any of the backstory. So I have as few prejudices as possible going into reading these. And I started reading one yesterday and like immediately was like, oh, this is German. Like I got that. I mean, I figured out one part of what this book is, but it's kind of a fun experience to just not know like what any of this is. Like I don't have the jacket copy. There's nothing. It's just called Book 7.
All right.
And I'm not sure that they sent the whole book. I have like 10 of them, I think, but this one's really short, which is why I'm starting with it. And I wonder if they just sent like an excerpt, but I'm going to treat it as if it's the real book and write up like I have a whole system of how I'm going to evaluate them and give them a score between 60 and 100 for and then predict like if it's a male or female writer, what language it's from, who the publisher is, and try and write about the book and try and describe it without having any other guideposts. And to evaluate the translation without knowing who the translator is, all the fun stuff. So I'm getting into that.
I just started. So I read a few books when I was traveling. None of which really bear any mentioning on the translation podcast. Except to say, so Verso put out Eka Koriyanawa's short story collection. I don't know the publication history of this collection, but they seem like stories he wrote when he was much younger, and which is a way of saying they are not very good.
Yeah. I don't really like him, to be honest.
I like him usually. These were not. These just felt like, first drafts from a long time ago. But I did then start reading, and I'm like, I don't know, 40 pages in or something. Hrabel's All My Cats.
Oh, yeah.
That New Directions is putting out, which is basically his memoir sort of thing about... So apparently he bought a house like an hour outside of Prague in the mid-'60s and goes there to write and just get away from Prague. It's an hour away. And he and his wife sort of take in a bunch of feral cats when they're there. So when they arrive, these 5 cats come into the house, and then they take care of them all weekend or whatever. And it is, I know you have cats and I have cats, and it is absolutely charming and delightful for anyone who's into that kind of thing. It's just really, really fun to read him talk about cat behavior and human-cat interaction and all that sort of thing. It's so sweet and all of those things. And I know this is so outside of my wheelhouse, but really enjoying it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like Hrabel a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's not one that I would normally pick up, but I get it.
I picked it up because I know we ordered it because I know we'll sell it. Like even if I didn't read it, I think people would probably buy it. But now,
yeah,
I think more likely.
Very true. Very true. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I read that I was really excited about. I started reading the first Shirley Jackson book, but I can always go on about her. Otherwise, I've been reading Ducks Newburyport. Dime I Love, the Charco Press book by Ariana Horowitz, is pretty solid. That's a pretty wild and raw book.
Emma really liked it.
I have a lot of issues with the translation that I'm not going to talk about publicly, and aside from what I write. But I think that the book is great.
Yeah. Yeah, she loved it. She absolutely loved it. So
it's pretty.
I think that's it. I probably get going.
Yep, I gotta do another call too. So okay, well, I'll see you in a few days.
All right.
Okay, take care, man.
I'm a doctor with a bad degree.